Hello everybody. If you are here, then you are probably a new teacher, or maybe you're a teacher who just would want better classroom management. I have good news for you. You're in the right place. So let me get my studious glasses on and let's jump into this. I'm Jonathan Mashak. I am an author and illustrator, but also a former teacher, and I'm the author of The Teen Survival Guide. The Teen Survival Guide is a book designed to help young adults be the best versions of themselves. So the first thing you want to think about with classroom management is the atmosphere you're setting. One of my first rules that I had as a teacher was to create an atmosphere of safety and professionalism. You need to let people know up front, this is not a class where you can bully other students. It's not a class where I'm going to allow you to say this or that. And you have to establish the stuff like early, first day, before anything ever happens. And you also let the students know that you actually care about who they are and that you want them to be the best version of themselves, that you're going to help them to be a better person in your class and outside of your class. You're going to give them whatever they need or whatever they're seeking to accomplish their goals. And you show that in many ways, but the first way you're going to show it is within the first step. And that first step is implementing easy day-to-day rules. So when you implement these day-to-day rules, you want to keep a few things in mind. Know the reason behind the rules. And I'm just going to share a few examples of rules that I had. And I'm going to share with you why I had, or what I would tell them to help them understand that these rules weren't just there because I'm an authority figure. So let me just give you an example so you can understand. Now, I used to teach high school, so I was able to have 3 simple rules that were really easy. Okay. First rule was the students must sign in every day to be marked present. Now, that sounds like, oh man, that's extra work for me as a kid or whatever. But what I would show them is that, one, it's gonna keep me from making a mistake. So for instance, if they were there that day and I'm, putting in the roll later, because I would put in the roll probably at the end of the day for all the classes. But anyway, so what I would do is say, if I made a mistake and mark you absent, you have evidence, you have proof showing that you were indeed here. Basically, I showed them that them signing in was insurance for them, basically. So the second example that I had was I had the students enter in from one door and exit out the other door. And one of the reasons was it was for their own safety, because I can always see who's coming and know who's going. If people are coming in both ways, then there's confusion, and I can't keep everybody safe if there's confusion going on. So that was my reason for, that was my excuse to kind of help them see that this rule's not just here because I want to be a authoritative figure above you, but this rule is here for your protection. And my third example is the students must only leave when I dismiss them on a positive note. That positive note is the key. Not just that, hey, you don't leave unless I say you leave. That bell don't dismiss you. I know people heard all that, but it's a different tone when you say, I don't want you to leave without me giving you something positive to take with you. I say my goodbye, before I give you a blessing, so to speak. So mine was real simple. It was happy to see you come, sad to see you go. I hope you have a wonderful day. And that was the thing that I said to all of my students every single day before they leave. And then on days that I even forgot, like the bell ring and I'm just expecting them to walk out and I didn't say the thing, they would stand there sometimes and wait and say, Mr. Mesha, you didn't say it. I said, oh, I'm sorry. Happy to see you come. Sad to see you go. Have a blessed day. Yeah, come on. But anyway, they become accustomed to that and they appreciate that. You know, it's not every class that they're going to get a blessing or I really want you to have a great day. Have that spirit of just wanting the best for them. And if you do that, then it's way more likely that, you know, they're going to follow the rules. Let's say you have a first offense and somebody has to get in trouble or get hours or get written up or whatever, or just a warning or however you do it. That first warning, what you want to do is go ahead and make contact with the parents. I know, I don't want to talk to parents. If you want to prevent some future headache, contact the parents. You can use whatever your school uses for like a parent app or whatever, or you can call them or email them or however you, or whatever your school's protocol is. But make contact with the parents early on, because a lot of times the parents will nip it in the bud. If they're good parents, they'll nip it in the bud early, and you know, you won't have to worry about that student anymore, even off of just a warning. You know, just keep the parents informed when it makes sense. The second offense, or whenever you actually have a big write-up, like a referral, or they have to go to the office, contact the parents again. Okay? Say, hey, it escalated, yada, yada, yada. And just keep in mind that most parents that I've experienced, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, and I used to also teach in Charleston. Out of 7 years of teaching full-time, I only had maybe 2 parents who were totally bonkers. Only 2 out of 7 years. And when I say bonkers, I just mean they did not want to admit that their child was the problem. Yeah. But in most cases, if I contacted the parents, they were on my side immediately. And you have to just tell them what's going on, and usually they're understanding and they'll appreciate you calling them and letting them know ahead of time before it gets out of hand. And one of the ways you do that is, one, you kind of let the parents know in a way that you care about them too, that you care about the student too, not the parent, that you care about their child, and you know, and even in like the things you send home, like the first day with, like I used to send home our our syllabus, yeah, or whatever, and it'll have the classroom rules and all that type of stuff, and they're supposed to sign it and all that. And even within my syllabus, I would have them see in writing that, you know, a lot of these rules are for your benefit, you know. And when they see that type of stuff and then you call them, then they can kind of put it together like, oh, okay, this person is trying to do us a favor right now. You know, this person got a lot of students they're calling, taking out the time when they don't have to. And it matters. So that brings us to step 2. Step 1 was, you know, create the rules and make them easy and basically show them that you care, or why the rules are important and why the rules are beneficial for them. What I forgot to mention in the first step is not just share the rules, but explain what's going to happen if they don't follow the rules. You know, don't have any surprises. They need to know exactly what the consequences are going to be. And then in step 2, you enforce. And I mean, when I say enforce, basically you have to say no mercy. No mercy. Even if it makes sense for you to show them mercy. I know it sounds rough, but it works. And even if you say, oh, this is not personal, I just have to do what I said I was going to do it. And you have to ignore the puppy dog eyes and the sad faces, the sad excuses, because most of the time the students are just testing you and they're going to see if you let them get by. And then a lot of the times, you know, if they realize that you will let them get away with something, if their excuse is good enough, then all of them, or the smart ones, will always have a good excuse. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes with enforcement, you just have to pass the test to follow through. Follow through. Even if it hurts you, even if it's inconvenient for you to follow through. Okay? Now, the third step is to know when to show mercy. Ironically, that's kind of funny. I just said, hey, enforcement, make sure the first 2 months, no mercy. But then third step, you might want to show some mercy. So the third step is to know when to show mercy and understanding. So after dropping that hammer for the first 2 months or first month or whatever, start easing up. Start easing up. So, and what does easing up look like? Easing up looks like, okay, my rule is no chewing gum in class. Usually if you chew gum, then, you know, if I warned you already, then, you know, you get detention hours or whatever. If I catch a student chewing gum and I already passed the 2 months, I'd be like, is that gum in your mouth? You think you might want to spit that out? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna let it slide this time, but you know, that's what that looks like. Now, if it's something crazy, then you know you got to write them up, or you got to follow through again. But just the little stuff. But that little stuff, it's the little stuff that you're gonna have to enforce those first 2 months. I keep going back to number 2, but that is very, very, very important to follow through those first 2 months. Now, the good thing about showing mercy after the 2 months and starting to ease up off of them a little bit is that they'll appreciate it because they've seen they've seen the no mercy side of you. So they'll start appreciating when you do that. And a lot of times, they'll behave even better and be more mindful, and they'll remind each other not to do certain things because of the mercy that you showed them, and they will appreciate it. At least, a lot of them will. Now, the ones who just used to getting away with stuff, they probably don't care. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Now, in certain things with enforcing rules and all that, a lot of stuff has to be addressed immediately. There's certain things that you can't wait on. You have to stop doing whatever you're doing and address it as soon as it happens. All right. So another thing that I want you to know is that some students are not affected by referrals and all that type of stuff, or the punishments that you have, the traditional punishments. And that there's a few reasons for that. And I'm just going to say one of the reasons that I know is sometimes it's just that they want attention because they don't feel loved in some kind of way, whether that's loneliness or whatever. So, some of them act out in order to get attention. Give them the attention, say, hey, come sit with me. I want you to sit close to me. And, and that can be one of the ways to prevent them from getting themselves in trouble, or, just say, you're going to be over here this time, or instead of where you were sitting, where that's getting you in trouble, or or I might isolate them and say, I'm isolating you because I care about you, and when you can do stuff like that, it's good, but sometimes you can't. So you just have to kind of figure it out, but you have to also let them know that you care about them, specifically them too, because sometimes that's the root of the problem, and we're not just trying to fix the behavior, we're trying to fix the root. Okay. So personally, one thing that I used to do is actually talk to the student Like if they were, just openly disrespectful or just trying to start trouble or just being defiant. One way that I would correct that behavior is by stepping outside with them and talking to them. And the first thing I would let them know is why what they're doing is wrong and how to fix it and what they should be doing to improve. Now, the second thing I would show them is how to avoid making that same mistake in the future. Not just in my class, but also in their other classes as well, or in life. And thirdly, if this applies, I would also show them how to take correction, or how to handle being corrected. Because sometimes when, you're dealing with a student like that, a lot of times they don't know how to accept being disciplined or even just being taught to. So, yeah. Now, in order for any of the rules or enforcements to be effective, they do need to know that you care. And that's why establishing that you care at the beginning was really important. Again, for those students who act out because they want attention, you have to try to find a way to acknowledge them and and a lot of times, most of the time you talk to them, you're talking to them to correct them. So you have to try to find ways to compliment them before the correction. Because the correction is coming. So you have to try to find positive things about that person or about that student, and openly say it in front of everybody, or just quietly. Even if it's something simple like, I saw you let such a borrow a pencil. That was very nice. You know what I'm saying? That was very kind. You're a good person. And say things that they're not used to hearing. I know that's sound kind of funny, but yeah, say things they're not used to hearing, and that can kind of help soften the blow when you correct them all the time, because they've probably been corrected. They probably heard all the things you told them. They're just defiant because they want attention. Now, another way I used to do that with all of my students is that I would give them a word of wisdom at the beginning of every class. And what this did was, it was another way of showing proof that I cared about them. And if you show that you care about them, then it makes everything else easy. Because, if you're likable and they know that you care about them, then, they're probably not going to misbehave in your class. So, this is part of showing proof that you care about them. And what I used to do is basically use this book to give them a word of advice every day. And the students used to call them serious tips, which I've adopted that name into the book. I'm just going to pick one random one. Rewards. This one is called Rewards, and it is from the Making Good Decisions section. So, rewards. No matter what you do in life, you will be rewarded for it, one way or the other. If you have good actions, your rewards would be pleasant and fulfilling. If you have bad actions, your reward will be uncomfortable and inconvenient. Then from there, I may make an example. Sometimes it could be something like current events, or maybe you can use an example that happened in class, or maybe you can use an example that from your personal life. Now, keep in mind, a serious tip is only meant to be 1 or 2 minutes, or this word of wisdom for the students to show that you care is only meant to be 1 or 2 minutes, and you only need to do one of them. You don't need to make a whole lecture about it. 1 or 2 minutes just to say, hey, I want to give you something that you can use in this class and outside of this class. And you can go in order. You can kind of flip the pages like I just did and just pick one. It doesn't really matter. Or if you're seeing that there's a problem with a specific thing, like you notice that these kids are just angry, and you want to address that, you can go to the anger section. If you know there's a problem with bullying, you can go to the bully section. You can go the people making bad decisions, go to making good decisions section. Or you see that they need a shift in their mindset, go to the mindset section, and start from there. Okay, so, and these tips are meant to be short, meant to be sweet, and that's really what the Teen Survival Guide, the way the book is structured, for even readers and and non-readers to enjoy or to get what they need from it. You can get the Teen Survival Guide. That makes it a whole lot easier, or you can just do that on your own. It doesn't matter, but I will make it available for you to get, whether that's a QR code on the screen or a link in the description or whatever. But I'll try to make it easy, and you can purchase it from my website or Amazon or however you want to get it. But yeah, that's about it. I know you learned something. If you didn't, then I'm sorry. But I feel like you got something out of this. And if you did, please be sure to share it with a teacher that you know that may want to use some of these ideas, or maybe use the Teen Survival Guide. If you want to book me to talk to some of your teachers in more detail about how to do some of these tactics and show the kids that you care in order to have better classroom management, then you can message me or email me, meshachmedia@gmail. I think that's about it. So I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. As always, happy to see you come, sad to see you go. Have a great day.